Hey, it's Father David Michael, and a brand new study just came out about Catholics' belief in the real presence of Jesus in the Eucharist, and it kind of seems to contradict some things we've heard in the past. So let's check it out.
A new study reveals some eye-opening numbers on the faithful and their attitude on the true presence of Christ in the Eucharist. Vinnier research found that 69% of Mass-attending Catholics believe in the real presence of Jesus in the Eucharist. The study was conducted in 2022, and its findings differ greatly from the much-discussed Pew Research poll from 2019 that found only one-third of Mass-going Catholics in the U.S. believed in the true presence of Christ in the Eucharist.
So that was a big deal when that came out in 2019, that only a third of Catholics apparently actually believe in the real presence of Jesus in the Eucharist. In a lot of ways, that's actually why we're having this whole Eucharistic revival in the Catholic Church, is because we're really trying to sway things in the opposite direction.
And for analysis, we turn now to Hans Plate, founder and president of Vinnier Research. Hans, great to be with you. So let's talk a little bit more about this. Why did your study come up with such different findings from those of Pew Research? And what about the difference in the language that you use as opposed to the questions from Pew?
So 69% of Catholics, which is what this study is suggesting, actually believe in the Eucharist, is a big difference from the one-third that they were telling us before. And it sounds like how they polled the people made a big difference, which is what he's going to talk about.
Yeah, I think the findings were different principally because of the language. So there were two major changes we made to Pew's wording of the question. The first is their framing of the question was around the bread and wine actually becoming the body and blood of Jesus. And if you read what the Catechism teaches, what the USECB and the bishops, how they teach on the subject, they're often using the phrase real presence or truly present. And so that's one of the major changes we made. We use the phrase truly present as opposed to actually becomes, because I think it's language that Catholics are more familiar with, and certainly language that the church proper uses.
So it sounds like they focus more on what it is after the consecration as opposed to focusing more on the process of it changing, which it does. It really does become the body and blood of Jesus Christ. But focusing more on what it actually is afterwards seemed to be more clear for people.
The other major change we made was in the response options that respondents were given to choose from. So you could either select that you believe that it actually becomes the body and blood, or that it was a symbol. And technically, both are actually true, right? So it is a symbol.
So it's tough, and I'm always careful saying this because I don't want people to get confused, but the Eucharist is a symbol. A symbol is something that points to a greater reality. So or another reality. So the Eucharist is a symbol in that it also points to all of us being united as Christ's body. We're in communion with each other, in communion with God. It symbolizes a lot of things for us as a church, but it's not a symbol merely in the sense that it actually is still bread and wine, and it just represents us all being close together. We believe that, yeah, it points to some other things in a symbolic way, but it also is actually the flesh and blood of Jesus Christ.
Though it's not merely a symbol.
Right.
And so we wanted to be clearer in that distinction. So our symbol option, as it were, was that it was a symbol, but it was Jesus is definitely not present in the body and blood. And so now we're mutually exclusive, and now we're, it's a little bit clearer for respondents which one to select.
So the former study, it sounds like, said it could either be a symbol or it actually is the body and blood of Jesus Christ. And for them, they actually said it either is Jesus or it's not. And that was a lot clearer for people, as it should be. When it comes to polls, gosh, how you ask the questions and the options you give are huge.
Yeah, language really does make a difference.
Yeah.
I know your study also broke down the belief in the true presence based on how often people attend Mass. Talk to us more about those findings.
Yes. Well, what was probably not surprising is that among those who go to Mass more often, their belief in the real presence is much higher. So I think among those who go to Mass weekly or more often, it's a little over 80%. What was surprising to me is if you look at the two groups of Catholics that go to Mass very infrequently, so those who go once or twice a year, their belief in the real presence, 51% of them believe in the real presence. About 2/3 of those who go to Mass infrequently, so less than once a month, also believe in the real presence. And that's, what is the depth?
So that's pretty interesting here. I mean, you want to leave room, obviously, for errors when it comes to polling and stuff. But it's very encouraging that people who go to Mass more than once a week believe, 92% of them believe in the real presence. 81% of people coming once a week believe in the real presence, which is obviously better, again, than before. What's actually most interesting to me is that 51% of people, of Catholics, who seldom come to Mass, still believe in the real presence of Jesus. So if you really believe it's Jesus, why would you seldom be coming? That is very odd to me. So definitely interesting stuff. I don't mind saying that for me, as a priest at a parish, I feel like that original Pew study was always kind of hard to believe, at least in my ministry, because I see so much devotion from the people. The way they receive communion, the way they come to daily Mass, it is really extraordinary how devoted people are to the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist. So this is actually a lot more consistent with my personal experience, and I think very hopeful for the future of what the faithful are going to look like in terms of their relationship with the Eucharist, which for us as Catholics, the Eucharist is Jesus. The Eucharist is everything. So this is very promising. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you next time. God bless.